Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dewi and this is my brother.
Align!
And today we're talking about Daredevil Born Again. The 2-episode premiere came out yesterday at the time of this recording.
Yes.
So this is your chance now to leave before we get into any spoilers.
3, 2, 1, kangaroo.
Okay, so before we get into this video as well, as you may notice, my brother's with me and this is a PG-18 show.
Yeah.
Now, you haven't actually directly seen it.
No.
I filled you in on what's happening.
Yeah, and I've seen bits of it, like the major parts of it.
Yes.
So I pretty much know what's going on.
In terms of the actual story and how this is going to relate to, like, I guess, the bigger picture later on, you could say. So that's why you're here, and also probably to ask me questions of what...
Yeah, to ask you questions, because I haven't seen anything of the actual Netflix show, so some bits I might be a bit iffy on.
So, I gotta say, first off, as first 2 episodes, I really thought it was great. I mean, I'm a Daredevil fan, so I really do like these first 2 episodes. I thought they were great. The intro got to me.
Yeah, so it starts off with Karen, Foggy, and Murdoch.
Yeah, they're having a great time. You get to sort of see, you know, where they're at. You know, it has been, I guess you could say, a couple of years later since the, you know, the last events and stuff what happened at the show. So, you know, they're going to go over to a bar that they know, Josie's, and, you know, they're all drinking, have a good time, and it's nice to see them, you know, in that sort of atmosphere, because you know the show ain't going to go well for them, so just take it in while you can. You see then what actually happens pretty much in the intro of Daredevil is this massive fight. Well, actually, I say fight. It was a lure away for Daredevil, and instantly they kill off Foggy Nelson.
Yeah, so Bullseye comes into it because wasn't he attacking someone that Foggy had under protection?
Yes.
So he didn't want Matt getting involved in any more stuff being Daredevil. But then obviously
yeah, because
Bullseye...
Foggy never liked the idea of Matt being Daredevil, so he didn't want to give him an excuse. He actually said that in the show as well.
Really?
Yeah, because he didn't want him to become Daredevil, so he, I guess, puts himself at risk, and he believes in the justice system, and obviously back then he did things his own way as Daredevil, you know, if the crime was too much.
Yeah. Well, obviously now Bullseye, who's in a sort of accurate costume. It's kind of like a homemade costume.
Yeah, the costume, I mean, in the 3rd season, he didn't really have a costume. In fact, actually, he wore Daredevil's costume in the 3rd season.
You remember you telling me that he just wore Daredevil's.
So, in this, he has his own costume. Pretty cool. Got the little, you know, symbol on it, the back of his hand and stuff like that. So, the fight at the beginning was insane, though. It was a one
Yeah, I've seen the fight. That's really cool.
You know, it was from the bottom of the building to the top of the building, constantly panning backwards and forwards, you know, between Foggy and Karen and his condition, back to Daredevil in that fight. The only criticism I have is that you could see elements of CGI
at the roof, on the rooftop.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't mind, you know, I prefer practical effects, but I don't mind CGI in place, because I mean, you have to, when you have to do powers and stuff like that for certain people, but you know, it looked like it was CGI. You know, you actually could tell it was put in there. Well, it didn't look more realistic, I guess you could say. But that was my only criticism.
Also, before I forget, what did you think of Daredevil's new costume? Because it's the comic accurate one without the double D on the chest, but it's like the bright red, like no real black.
Because I know we talked about this in She-Hulk a while back. If you know, if it was going to have the golden thing. Because in terms of She-Hulk, I don't know how this correlates in time. We know it's 2026 in the intro and 2027. The year later after the intro. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that the events in which Foggy dies probably takes place the same year as She-Hulk, or maybe the next year, but I'm pretty sure She-Hulk took place in 2025.
He does say he has a business in Hell's Kitchen, but he just said business, he didn't say it was Nelson, Murdoch and Paige.
But you have to assume, since I'm pretty sure the Netflix show took place just before Infinity War.
Yeah.
So, and then She-Hulk took place after it, so it couldn't be...
Yeah. So a lot of things has happened in between these events. Or I imagine as the show goes on, they may fill in some of the blanks, you know.
Yeah.
The intro I thought was cool. It kept to the original theme. The theme was there, but it was a bit of a remix. And the actual look of it was a lot different from what I was expecting. But I liked it, you know, the whole thing coming down and then reforming Daredevil.
Yeah.
Again, I kind of like that look to it.
And then you had, wasn't it the scene after, was the scene with Vanessa?
Yeah, so it's a year later now after the events of Foggy Nelson died, which I gotta be honest, I really was not straight off the bat as the intro to sort of set up this show, Foggy died, because he's been the whole course now of all 3 seasons, so it's like really gut-wrenching when you see him go like that.
Wasn't it the thing that the actor didn't want to come back or something?
I'm not too sure, but maybe, I mean, there's talk about season 2. Oh, right, okay, that's another conversation entirely, and there's so much to go over. But no, it's 1 year later, and Matt is now working with, it's now called Murdoch and Macduff, I think it was called. And it was a woman that Foggy met at the bar in the intro, and they now have a partnership together now that Murdoch, Nelson, and Page no longer exist. Because Karen Page now, after these events, now moved to San Francisco.
Yes. And actually, Matt Murdoch has actually come up in the world in like the scenes.
Yeah, his apartment's changed. Like he used to live in like a ragtag apartment.
Because I thought Nelson Murdoch was supposed to be like this really run-down sort of building.
Yeah, because they take on the hard cases.
Yeah.
No, because they used to take on the hard cases, look after, the sort of like the little guy.
It just makes me wonder how, like,
Well, clearly things have changed in that year. Because the thing is, Matt now, ever since that incident, has vowed never to become Daredevil again.
Yeah.
So there's that. Karen Page.
After he threw Bullseye off that building.
Yeah, damn. That was... How did he live from that?
It was a short building, to be fair, but still, with all the beating that he took beforehand, and then the, like, body first fall onto the ground, onto, like, solid concrete.
Thing is, right, I mean, when I looked at that scene, okay, all I thought was Hans Gruber falling from Nakatomi building in Die Hard.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was obviously a far smaller building, and, it's actually his torso. Maybe you could say his armor sort of protected a bit more of his ribcage than normally, but... Damn. Bullseye's still alive. In fact, this year that takes place 1 year later is the day before, I think, the trial of Bullseye and the events of that night. So he must have been in service in this one time.
So he goes on trial and Matt, like, testifies or whatever against him.
Yeah.
And obviously he wants Bullseye to die, go on the death penalty.
Yeah, because you can see the anger that he gets when... They basically give him life sentence with no chance of parole. He wanted, because rage was filling him up. But I think this is kind of a bit of a story, because later on Fisk kind of goads him into, you enjoyed it that night, having that rage.
Yeah, that sort of power over Bullseye.
Yeah. I mean, old Karen not being there, to sort of temperament him, I guess, in those moments might be something, because now she's in San Francisco. I mean, she did move here for the trial, but...
Yeah.
But how long for?
Matt does have a new love interest now in this. It's like the therapist.
Yeah, the therapist. Yeah, so he was basically set up. That was kind of a funny scene, actually, that he was set up, because I guess you could say Macduff now is like one of his best buds.
Kind of like the Foggy sort of thing.
I guess there's also a retired cop as well, that's still hanging around and helping him out.
Oh yeah, I sort of wondered, because he's sort of introducing that like opening bit, if that cop was in the original Netflix show, because I don't know.
Remember. It could be a new character, honestly. If it has been a while since I've seen the Netflix show, there were like cops that did stand out, but I can't remember all of them, so that is something I may need to go back over. But no, so he's helping him out. He's investigating stuff for Matt.
Yeah.
On his behalf.
And at the same time, you've got Fisk, who's actually running for mayor.
Yeah, I did like the comparison that you did get between Matt and Fisk as they get up in their daily lives. They're going in their wardrobe, you can see their suits sort of picked out and all that. And Fisk has definitely lost weight. In fact, it's said in this show as well, like he had like one asparagus and like poached egg or something like that he was cutting up and eating.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but... yeah, it was interesting. So he's now running for mayor, but although this was sort of hinted at in the end of Echo.
And Vanessa's been running his criminal business while he's been off doing things like Hawkeye and Echo.
Yes.
Which is actually referenced Echo in this, that he tried mentoring someone, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then Matt even taunts him later, being like, yeah, because she shot you in the face.
Yeah. Pretty funny, because that was Hawkeye and... no, it was just Hawkeye, what am I saying? Yeah, I was thinking of Falcon and Winter Soldier for some reason. Yeah, Vanessa's been taking over the business while Fisk's been, recovering on a way. There seems to be a bit of tension there now between those two.
Yeah, because she kind of feels abandoned.
Yeah, because Fisk just left for a bit, I guess, dealing with the events of Echo, because she did say she was by his bedside while he was recovering.
Yeah.
So she's been looking after the Empire. Something else I need to add now as well, before I do forget. The painting she was trying to sell off with those families before Fisk came in was called Red Hook, I think. I'm pretty sure it was called that. Foggy Nelson in the intro was taught, the person he was trying to protect, I think, mentioned Red Hook as well. So there could be a connection there later on for Foggy, maybe Foggy's investigation to the person he was defending, that leads somewhat to Vanessa and that painting, maybe.
And that Vanessa maybe got Bullseye to kill Foggy.
Yeah, because later on you find out, Fisk says, I kept my promise, I left them alone. You may have kept your promise, doesn't mean Vanessa didn't.
Yeah, so
I don't know, there could be something, and that's far out, because I mean, there's a year gap between these two situations, but I thought I remember hearing that name Red Hook in the beginning of the intro, and then when she has that meeting, so there could be something of a connection there.
Like in that meeting when Fisk just walks in and they all just get scared off, that was pretty cool.
That shows how intimidating he is.
They start some kind of presence.
Yes.
Despite going to jail like twice.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Fisk is running for mayor. And he has like the whole thing of competing with some senator person for that position.
Yeah, he came in quite late, and he did get the 25,000 votes he needed to to compete. But the thing is, because he's quite upfront, he tackles the situation head on. He's unlike any other mayor going for mayor, you could say, or any senator going for mayor has ever been. That's why he's got quite a lot of votes. But I did think to myself in this entire time, thinking to myself, do you not remember what happened in the last 3 seasons? What this guy did? Well, in technically season 1 and 3, that's when his presence was more known to the public. But
I think it could be a case of, and I think you actually said this, that it's simply because the younger generation of people, like how you see that younger person working.
Yeah, Daniel,
with Fisk,
who's one of his one of his underlings or whatever you want to call him.
And I'm pretty sure he probably, with how he dresses and stuff, that he's meant to be this version of Fisk's son. Because of all the green that he dresses up in and stuff.
I don't know about that, but either way, it does seem like he's definitely catered more to the younger generation. Maybe because they're too young and naive to sort of know
and
they either
don't know his whole thing, or they just don't want to know, and they just don't care.
There's some, because I do like every now and then you do get the new crews sort of going around people throughout the city asking people questions of the events and what they like. Yes, BP, which we'll be getting to that in a bit. So I do like that sort of thing that they've got going around, asking people's opinions about what Fisk is going to be like. Also, Matt finds out, and I did like that scene in his apartment where on the TV Fisk makes his presence known that he is running for mayor, and I tell you what, Charlie Cox's Daredevil is spot on, and Vincent D'Onofrio as Fisk. Those two are like the pillars of this, and I know they are because they're the main antagonist protagonist thing.
Yeah,
but, they're really, really, really good. So his reaction to hearing that on the TV. And the stove's going off in the background, because it's boiling at the meat wherever he's cooking, and he meets him. Then he confronts him then as he's coming out.
Yeah, and in some coffee shop as well. And I found that scene sort of weird and funny because they're sort of not so much shouting at each other at some parts, but they are really speaking quite loudly to each other about how Matt Murdock's Daredevil and how you're the Kingpin. And it's in this coffee shop, and you can see in the background other people really close by, and it's maybe keep your voices down a bit, otherwise you're gonna expose both of your.
I think at the end of the day, they'd be smart enough to keep it lower down, but I think it's just for us, the audience. It's just sort of deep reaction, and it is public out there what Fisk did before. Maybe not everything, but most of it, of what he did back in previous events.
But he's actually quit being the Kingpin now.
Yes.
Well, at least for now.
Yeah, this is the thing. He says he's a changed man and all that business. Obviously, that's not true.
That seems to be the sort of theme of this, that all the characters trying to change who they are, but they end up being brought back to the person that they truly are. Matt Murdock trying to quit being Daredevil, but it seems like he's going to be brought back into it because of Fisk's law. And Fisk trying to quit, but he's brought back into it because everyone's hating on him for his past, and he has to try and keep everyone loyal to him.
The scene though with those two at the canteen was really good though. They sort of have a little bit like Fisk did say to him, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again. It's like and it was just it was a really cool but tense scene. Matt basically giving him the whole, if you step out of line, I'll be there. Is this coming from you or your darker half?
Yeah.
There's little things like that, and the way he just says when I'm mayor, because he's so overconfident he's going to become mayor, that there'll be no room in this city for people running around in silly costumes, and it's like, oh man, this is really good.
But in the end, Fisk does actually end up becoming mayor.
Yeah, at the very end of the episode. I thought this was really quick, in this one episode, he's gone from not to running to mayor to then becoming mayor.
Well, it'll probably take, because they do show, like, at the end, it's the new year, so this episode takes place over the span of an entire year. But still, and Matt Murdock obviously being on his, like, date when he hears this and being like, oh, he won. Just that was kind of like really chilling, just the way he just says he won in such like a scared sort of voice, and it just like those two words, just like he won, like
You can tell that, like, we don't know what's going to happen in this season yet, because obviously it's only the first two episodes, but he knows it's going to be very big bad news after everything he's had dealt with him in previous seasons before now. But I did like the ending where he's walking through the crowd, people, are celebrating. You can hear half people saying we don't like him, the other half saying, yeah, we love him, all that business. And Fisk on the top of that building looking down on everyone as if it's his empire that he's gonna, build.
And then Matt looking up and like the lights, like Matt red for Daredevil, Fisk like the whitish blue.
White. Even though they're exact opposites of those colours.
Yeah, and like the parallel that it feels like Matt's like in Hell's Kitchen. He's like in hell with like all like these like mess people and stuff, while Fisk is up in like the higher places.
Yeah, well, this is the thing.
Like,
they kind of broke out of
heaven.
Hell's Kitchen now. It used to be like that in the other seasons, but it's out of Hell's Kitchen now in this season. It's New York we're talking about.
They actually mentioned Queens a lot in this, because obviously that's where Spider-Man likes.
He did mention Spider-Man and Punisher.
Yeah, in at the beginning of the second episode when he makes his like speech.
Yes.
And he says that the city won't tolerate people running around with guns and skulls on their chests, or people dressed in spider costumes. Yeah. It really just makes me think, because we know Punisher's in this.
Yes.
But it makes me think, where's Spider-Man in all this? I know they're not
going to have time for everyone.
I know, but I know they tried to like get him in as like a cameo, but Sony wouldn't let them. But it still just makes me wonder, hey, where's Spider-Man in all this? Like, what's his reaction to all this?
Ever since No Way Home. Well, he doesn't know much about it. He's probably one of the younger generation that doesn't know much about what Fisk...
Yeah, but he probably wouldn't have voted for Fisk because of the whole anti-vigilante thing.
No, but, he's not... he's never had any proper confrontation with Fisk to sort of have an opinion.
Well, not yet.
Not yet, no, but we'll get to that. And so that really concludes the first episode, Heaven's Half Hour. So we're now on to episode 2, Optics. Fisk is now mayor, and we get our first proper look at a new character, Hector, who is traveling down the subway on the phone, and then he gets himself into this random mugging basically situation in the subway. He, tries to help a person out from his perspective. He looks like he's getting mugged. And he ends up in a fight with two people. The innocent man gets away, or I guess in this point in time you could believe he's innocent, who knows later on. And then one of the other people die because he trips over his friend and gets run over by a train.
And that's when the other person reveals that he's an NYPD cop and has Hector arrested.
Yes. So this kind of leads into the events of the police station.
Yeah, where Matt Murdock is at the police station, like talking to one of his clients, I think.
Yes.
And then he hears like Hector being beaten up, and he goes to help and like decides to become his lawyer.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and
but you could tell though he was holding something back.
Yeah.
You can hear a person's heartbeat. He knows when they're being truthful.
Which is why he then decided to have his friends go to Hector's house and kind of look around to see if there was anything there.
Yes.
That's when...
Find out White Tiger.
Yeah.
Now, this character, I don't know much about. You may know more.
I don't know much about White Tiger. I know that Hector is a different White Tiger to the usual one. The usual one is a female White Tiger. Hector was the White Tiger before her. It's like Black Panther. It's a mantle that's passed down through generations. Hector was the previous White Tiger, but he was killed, and the mantle was passed down to like a girl. I can't remember her name, but she's like the permanent White Tiger, which kind of, at least from my opinion, makes it seem like Hector's not going to survive this first season. And he's going to be killed.
Because he is a vigilante. We actually do see him technically in the first episode. He's on TV fighting.
As White Tiger.
And he does say Daredevil. I mean, later on he does confront him. He's like, you didn't forget to tell me this. And he shows the phone up to him in that scene. And he's like, well, Daredevil's not around anymore. And someone's got to stick up for the little guy.
Yeah,
so you can appreciate in that moment. And I think Matt is questioned on this by the peer, by the cop. I think his name is Cherry, the guy's name, the cop.
Yeah, I think so.
And he does say to him that perhaps you see in him what you once saw in yourself, that, you know, you're a vigilante trying to stick up, you know, for the person that can't stick up for themselves. And that's why you did it. And, you know, you wanted to help him out.
Yeah. So that's a really good introduction. I want to see how that plays out. And also, the sequence where, like, White Tiger goes on trial, just before, obviously, he's revealed to be White Tiger. But then the judge is like, no, he killed a man. Next case, please. Before Matt Murdock even has a chance to speak, and that's it. That is so
because he signed a
corrupt.
confession thing, yeah. Like, well, no, not a confession thing, sorry. It just, you know, it's... They pass judgment right there and then, but it is brought up again later on, and they now have a chance to maybe help him out.
Yeah, and also the fact that, because they do say the woman that runs the business with Matt Murdock, the person that, you know how Nelson and Murdoch is also now changed to Murdoch and, what was her name, like the assistant woman? She tells...
Oh, right, yeah, I know the one, yeah.
Yeah, she tells Matt that if he takes on this case, then he's going to make an enemy out of the NYPD.
Yeah.
And because obviously, as far as the NYPD are concerned, White Tiger's killed one of their own, so now he's a marked man. And so by Matt helping him, he's now a marked man and the business is in danger, blah, blah, blah.
Marked man, yeah, but you know, he has been looked down a bit more on them now, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's helped them out so much in the past. I mean, you know, he's exposed what Fisk used to be like and the corrupt cops that they used to have back then.
But obviously now it seems like the cops have become a lot more corrupt with Fisk's whole anti-vigilante sort of belief.
Yeah.
But you do actually see more Fisk in this episode where he goes to a cop's funeral. I think it's a cop.
Yes, it's actually the cop that died at the beginning with Hector. At the end, Hector didn't
exactly
kill him. It was just that one. Yeah, it's the same person, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just some random funeral.
I'm pretty sure it is, anyway.
Yeah, it probably is, because it feels a bit too coincidental.
Fisk shows up, comes out too late. Now, like, the commissioner, the guy, the chief, goes up to him, you know, and really
digs into him in a way
that's
like...
Once a thug, always a thug.
And tells him that, like, he's just some kind of, like, child who's never loved.
Yeah, and the shortest term mayor here had a month. It is my personal mission to make sure your term is shorter than that.
Oh, and it's like he really digs into him about like his
and the
past
Fisk's
and
like
stuff,
face, just like teeth showing, but like sort of stone face. It just like, oh my god,
and
you have just really annoyed
I was like
the wrong
on edge with that scene
person.
because I just thought that because Fisk is sort of quite emotional. Like the chief says, he's like a child, essentially, a child in a man's body.
Yeah.
And so I just thought he was just going to kill him at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wouldn't have been the first time he's let his emotions run ahead of him and just killed someone outright.
But no, instead, he decided to be a bit more relaxed about it. He calls when the chief goes into his office and hands him like the resignation papers.
I do wonder if something to do with Echo has something to do with this, because she sort of like erased something of Fisk, like a bit of a dark past.
Yeah, because he just says in the first episode that after what Echo did to him, there were two things that he remembered after he went through that, which was one, his undying love for Vanessa and his undying love for the city.
Yeah.
So it just kind of...
I don't know, I feel like he's probably changed, but not like changed in the way we're thinking. I think, you know, he's had something erased that kind of made him that dark, I guess. I don't know, but...
Something that's made him a bit more, like... That's taken a bit of the emotion child out of him. Like
I know, a bit more sensible, that don't just do it outright because you pretty much just cost you becoming mayor by just doing that one act alone. So
instead he actually decides to blackmail the cop, and at first, like, because he starts talking about sandwiches to the chief after he signs in the resignation papers, and I'm just like, where's he going with this? This feels a bit out of place. But then he like lifts up the sandwich packet and you see a picture of the chief's family, and that's like the first time that you really get to see the kingpin sort of Fisk shine again after he kind of renounces that part of his life.
And it's just when he says, so minimum wage, 0. And, and that a cadet academy, not happening. And it was just, nothing.
Like, just basically doing like a Uno reverse where he spites everything that this like chief officer like was held to his core, and he can't do anything about it because of the situation he's in. So yeah, I really like that scene.
That bit after when he said men are weak, the sandwich was disgusting. It's like he had to prove a point that, you know, we know where they are. It's like he's trying to hide them, whatever. Because he did say it was outside the city. It's like, just because I own the city, and don't you think, you know, because your family's outside doesn't mean I can't still find them?
Yeah, exactly. They probably moved out of there for that exact same reason.
Yeah.
And then you also have, I think, just before this moment, you had the scene with the BB woman.
Right, this one took me because the name rang a bell as soon as it was mentioned, and it took me like a couple of minutes before I realised, oh my god, she's related to Ben Urich when Fisk mentioned that name.
And
Urich, yeah.
Because you said that Ben Urich was like the first person that Fisk actually like really killed in the
no, it wasn't the first person like here, but
the first major person.
Yeah, in season 1 he was a journalist, sort of like what BB is now, really. I'm not gonna get into that, but he sort of touched a very big emotional side on Fisk that no one should really ever do ever, and he paid the price for it, and we'll leave it at that. And so he killed him personally. So yeah, there's that. So
yeah, it was like a very tense interaction between those two. And isn't it like, because I couldn't really tell if she knew that Fisk was responsible for the death of her uncle? No, doesn't know.
Don't think. I don't think she'd be in the same room as him. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm sure you would have said the same about like the chief officer, but he was still there trying to spite Fisk and pull him down. But it's just like those things like showing Fisk's past and stuff. Oh, but then...
So she's very young anyway, and if this happened after the events of the blip, which is 5 years as well, assuming she wasn't the one that was blipped, you know, you have to think she was like a kid then at a time or whatever, you know. I'm just trying to sort of backtrack here. I don't know, like, in terms of what age they are and how much time has passed. You know, when Ben Urich died, I don't know what age she was to even understand, you know, was he killed or whatever.
Yeah. But then you had a really good scene, in my opinion, the Fisk fixes a hole scene. I really hope that becomes a meme.
like that scene, okay, like I find that funny because driving the road, around here, well, anywhere, to be honest, you always find potholes or something like that, the road's like, just scruffed up or whatever. But you see this crate and I thought, is this some kind of Avengers thing or some hero? I know someone just landed on like a Hulk or whatever. But anyway, we don't get to that. We just get to the fact it's a hole, it needs repairing, he gets some workforce out, and it's like, I'm authorizing it. Fill that hole then. It's not rocket science. It's a hole. It could be filled up. I told you I'd get things done, and here I am, getting them done.
So I thought that, because it's like it really does show that he's no nonsense and he actually does get stuff done.
So yeah, it's very minor, but sometimes little things can go a very long way.
It still does just prove at the end of the day that he is going to get stuff done. So yeah, I like that. And then you had, there was a scene with a book woman, like someone talking about their book.
Oh yeah, the psychiatrist that Matt's going out with. Now, this is interesting because this character's been hinted, well, I say hinted at, the camera pans off to him quite a few times, so this is going to be some kind of up-and-coming character, good or evil, one way or the other. Now, the general consensus is, and it probably is true given the fact of what we've seen and heard, is that it's Muse.
Yeah, as because this psychiatrist woman who's signing books, and one of them is like a kid, like a really shy kid, and as soon as I saw him I was like, okay, that's probably Muse.
Yeah. In fact, later on you actually see some graffiti art in the city. Oh no,
yeah,
was the first one?
I think that was the first one actually, at the end of the first one. And it's of a Fisk.
Yeah.
Like two sides got angry and then like
Muse has been known to be obviously the artist.
Yeah.
And uses actually graffiti art around the city and stuff, so it could actually be him because all you see is a hooded character.
But he's also a psychotic killer.
Yes.
Who thinks that his killings are like some kind of art, but...
You also see there actually at that interview, the signing, is one of Fisk's underlings.
Yeah, like his sort of right-hand man,
yeah,
in a way. And obviously that's because he has her book to do some sort of therapy session.
Yeah, because the Vanessa Fisk thing still hasn't been obviously sorted out, and there's a bit of tension. In fact, actually, one of his other helpers does say, you're getting a lot of support from the younger, like the younger generation. However, the more traditional people, obviously still not keen, but it would help if we had Vanessa with you to sort of, I guess, bring out your more human side, and more side, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, sure, they're a bit more human.
Yeah. And they're going through a rough patch at the moment, and you see that in like a shrink's office, and you see them trying to work out their issues. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. But I don't know how much they're really going to talk to about what's really been going on behind closed doors, but they have to be very smart with their words on what's said, even though it is very confidential, I know, but still, if it's like really like big stuff.
Yeah. But obviously they have the whole interaction there with the therapy woman. It's like, I guess it's like a good, because it does show that Fisk does genuinely love Vanessa, wants to fix their relationship, but it's also like sort of an awkward moment.
I feel like, because the thing is, okay, Matt in the first episode when he told her, the woman he's going out with, that he won, and she did say to him, do you two have a history? And I think he did say, well, not so much of a history, but that
we've crossed paths.
But yeah,
always had.
Now she's got that in her head. And so even though she can't discuss her own personal life to them, there could be a situation, something comes up and it makes a mention of, and if Fisk finds out that Matt has got a love interest, he can use that against him.
Yeah.
And this is where things can be a bit more touchy. And the thing is, if Matt finds out that she has been doing help with him, even though it's just psychiatry work with Vanessa, he will also probably try and distance himself away, or like warn her, and she may not look at it like that as a shrink. She has to look at it with an open mind and feel probably sorry for Fisk, and there could be tension in between those two, and that's how they maybe break apart. Now, these are just going off in all different directions. What could actually happen, I don't know. None of them may happen, but it's little things that they've hinted at, I guess you could say, in the show so far, that could spiral out of control later.
Actually, speaking of Daredevil, go back to him, where he's following the person that was getting mugged.
Yes, no, not getting mugged. Well, he tracked him because they found the dirty cops, let's say, and they give him the address to find the person that got away.
Yeah.
He makes it there first, warns him they're coming to kill you because you are my only defense to help Hector, who is White Tiger, and if you die, my case is gone. So he, goes out the window, tells him, the cop, Cherry's outside, he'll help you out, like.
And then he fights the two cops, breaks one of their arms.
Yeah, that scene was brutal. I say it was brutal. Everything else was fine. Like I just thought it was just a one-arm. And do you know what? It wasn't even looking at it. It was just the sound effect. That was like the actual crunch. Yeah.
But he does see a Punisher tattoo on their wrist.
That was interesting. Yeah.
Here's the thing, because I'm pretty sure in the comics, when Fisk becomes mayor, he gets the anti-vigilante police force. They dress up like Punisher and they kill people pretending to be Punisher to frame him. Yeah. So that they have a reason to go after him. And so it seems like that's what they might do here, is people dressing up as Punisher. I mean,
There's going to have some implication later on because we know Punisher's coming in this.
I'm even expecting that they might have, maybe Bullseye maybe gets out, but then he's killed by these anti-vigilante people, as a way of, showing that Fisk being like, oh, I've taken out one of these vigilantes, these psycho kind of killer people. Or something.
I don't know. We'll see when we get. There's so many characters at the moment in this show. I don't know. They'll find a way to fit it all in, or do some setups for later on. Because they're already talking about season 2. We had a little talk about this earlier on. But I thought it was interesting. I can't wait to see the interactions between Punisher seeing Daredevil again. I know it's probably gonna be far later on into the show. Karen Page, what she's going to be doing while all this is happening. Has she moved back to San Francisco, or is she still sticking around a bit more for another week or so? I don't know. And how everything's going to turn out with Hector, and if that witness will help testify, for his case, because he was scared of being seen by all the other cops, because he doesn't know now which ones are dirty and which ones are, safe.
Yeah. So overall, what did you think of the...
I loved it. It's been too long for Daredevil, and I'm really glad that the show is back. So what would you
rate the 2 episodes together?
Oh, together? Honestly, I'd rate it out of 9. Just because of some, as I think I discussed it before, my critique of the fighting and stuff, and you could definitely tell the CGI was there. That's pretty much it. Just more so you can just tell certain things like that in the show. But no, I absolutely enjoyed it. Obviously,
looking forward to next week?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's going to be 1 episode per week, although I have heard there's another 2-part...
For the halfway point?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not too sure, but we'll get there when we get there. But I'm excited. Cannot wait for more Daredevil. Really stoked. I would ask you for rating, but I know you haven't seen it. This is just more what I told you. But from what I've told you, do you like the way the story's going?
Oh yeah, I do like it. From what you've told me, from what I've seen, I do really like it. Yeah.
In that case, that's going to be it from me, Dewey, and my brother.
Oh, bye!
And we will catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Ta-da!